wanted to welcome you all here to Bethesda. I cannot believe that we are all here in this room together. It's quite amazing. So I'm Katherine Bell. I've met only a few of you so far, and I'm dying to meet the rest of you. I'm so excited you're all here. So I'm the vice president of the foundation. I wanted to just introduce myself really quickly, and then we can get going. So I live in Massachusetts. My daughter is 3.5. She was here for a little bit. They've just gone to the playroom. She was diagnosed just over a year ago, I have one other daughter, Margot. Vanessa's my little one, and my wife, Nancy, is here too. And we are so happy to be here. It is astonishing that we are all here in this room. I think it's almost impossible to understand what the loneliness of having a child or being a person with an undiagnosed disease feels like. And every single person in this room knows what that feels like. And here we are together, and we are going to do amazing, amazing work together going forward. Just really quickly about the conference. There are a lot of people here. There are about 150 doctors in the other room. They are speeding through a very, very intense agenda. And there are about 60 of us in this room. And so we've come from 6 different countries. There are people here from the Netherlands, including one patient who just got out of the hospital and went straight to the airport, which is amazing. Germany, France, a couple of families from Canada, Israel, and the US. Many states in the US. We have 91 US physicians and scientists and 45 from overseas. We did a survey right before the doctors arrived to find out how many patients they had, because we didn't know. We know that there are 82 patients in the medical literature, but we didn't know how many were out there. We know that there are, last night we were talking about it, Dan Kastner, who's moderating the scientific meeting, estimated there are probably 12,000 to 13,000 people in this country alone that we don't know about. But right now we know about 158 patients, according to this survey. And in the meantime, since the survey about a week ago, we've discovered that there are 4 more patients we know of in Japan. So it's quite amazing. Several of the patients from the first study that was in the New England Journal of Medicine are here. There are people who've been diagnosed within the past year. There are people who've had stem cell transplants. There are people who have survived very, very difficult times. And now here we are, and we're going to figure out how to cure this disease soon. So my goal for this part of the meeting, for the patient and family meeting, is really to be inspired by each other and to make connections with each other. I think that is the most important thing that we can do, so that when we leave this building, we still have each other. And we've mostly found each other through the internet. I hadn't met Chip until yesterday in person. And most of us have never met. I've met Adela, and that's it until yesterday. So the internet has brought us all together, and it's going to keep us together after today. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about how the meeting came about, and then we'll talk a bit more about how we're going to run today. So about a year ago, almost exactly, we had been out of the hospital for only about a week and a half or so, and I went to a conference at Boston Children's Hospital. And I had read, some of you may have read in the New Yorker, there was an article about a guy named Matt Might who had a child born with a disease that he was the first child born with that disease, who was diagnosed with that disease. And Matt was a computer scientist, and he decided to use the internet to find other children who might have the disease, even though they knew that not a single child had been diagnosed. And so he wrote a blog post, it went viral, and he started to find other children, and they started a foundation and have done amazing, amazing work. He's actually been in Washington, working with the president's Precision Medicine Initiative. And he does tons and tons of speaking and a lot of work. Anyway, I met him, and I was telling him about why I was there and my daughter, and he said, "What disease is it?" And I said, "You won't have heard of it. She was the 16th kid to be diagnosed in this country. There's no way you'll have heard of it." And I told him, and he said, "Oh, I was talking to a guy last night whose kids have that disease." So he had already been in touch with Chip the night before, and so within hours, Chip and I were on the phone. And it turned out that this conference was already in Chip's mind and underway. And so back in 2014, at the Clinical Immunology Society meeting, Chip and 7 other doctors met and kind of hatched the plan for this meeting. And they worked on it for quite some time. In February of last year, was it last year? No, in October of last year, they talked to Dan Kastner at the NIH, and he agreed that the meeting was a great idea and said that the NIH would try to provide some funding for it. We had to wait quite a while for the federal budget to be approved, which took a long time. And then it turned out that amount wasn't approved, which was disappointing. And they had a meeting in February on Rare Disease Day, and Chip was really disappointed that we didn't get the money. And he decided on the spot, he just agreed to fund the meeting. He said, "You know what, we're just gonna do this. We're gonna find the funds, we'll make it happen." And they agreed to make it happen. And so after that point, that was in February, we started the foundation. We applied for 501(c) status, which in this country means that you're a nonprofit. It means that you can be tax exempt, and that basically makes you officially a foundation. So we did that, and then planned the conference and started to raise money only about 4 or 5 months ago. And we've managed to raise about $200,000 already, which is amazing, in about 4 months. So, so that's where we are. And we kind of did it backwards. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're going to do next. But first, I wanted to show you a quick video. So one of the things that's been really exciting is how much support we've been able to get really, really quickly. One of the people we've been able to get support from is Dr. Bill Frist, who is a former senator and former Senate Majority Leader. And he was actually at Vanderbilt University with Chip many years ago. And they've worked together on a committee in Nashville. And when he heard about this, he recognized how important what we were doing was and how forward-looking it was. And he lent his support to the foundation. He said, he donated some money personally. And he said, I'm happy to be an advisor. You can use my name in any way you want. And I'll connect you to people in Washington, lobbyists, et cetera. So he did that, and he has a message for us.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Senator Bill Frist, and I'd like to welcome you to the DADA2 Foundation's first International Medical Conference. I serve as an advisor to the Foundation. I know many of you have traveled from around the world to be here today, some as far as Argentina, Israel, and Turkey. First, thank you for your time and your commitment to this cause. Today would not be a success without you. Second, I want to emphasize that the discussions, the connections, and the work done at this conference will be vital to finding a cure for ADA2 deficiency and to advancing the research process for treating all rare diseases. I want to commend my good friend, Dr. Chip Chambers, who worked in the medical field with me at Vanderbilt University Medical Center on his tireless efforts to make today's event a reality. I also want to acknowledge the special and critical role of the National Institutes of Health in helping children and adults with this and other rare diseases, not just in the United States, but around the world, and in making this conference possible. We're part of a movement creating a new collaborative model of pursuing medical knowledge. Patients, physicians, researchers and nonprofits, government, academia, biotech, and pharma all working together with shared goals. As far as we know, this is the shortest time between a disease being first described in the medical literature and the convening of an international meeting of this scale. Less than 3 years. Nearly every physician and researcher who has touched this disease in some way is present. The ability to make global connections and share knowledge with unprecedented speed through the internet has made this remarkable gathering possible. Moving research forward quickly will require even more openness and trust, with sharing of data and institutions working together to remove unnecessary obstacles. As a cardiothoracic surgeon, I am all too familiar with the silos we as medical professionals tend to work in. We are fiercely protective of our research and can sometimes be the hammer that treats everything as a nail. I'm excited to see the DATA2 Foundation break down those barriers and create an exchange of ideas that should be the gold standard anytime we're facing a new medical challenge or disease. Today is just the beginning, and I look forward to our groundbreaking work together.
We've talked a little bit about how this meeting came about and how the foundation came about, but I wanted to talk about what we're going to do next. So the first thing I wanted to say is just, I know all of you in this room know this already, but, and Chip isn't here to hear this, but I just wanted to say what an incredible job he has done pulling us all together. He has personally found most of us and reached out to us, and the 150 doctors in the other room, he has personally located all of them as well. And it was just a phenomenal project that he managed to pull this together. So that kind of force of human nature is going to be leading us forward into the next phase of this. And because we did sort of do this backwards and start the foundation, you know, kind of at the last minute in order to pull this conference together, we haven't actually really even sat down and made a really clear strategy for what we're going to do next. The next phase is really about deciding how we're going to go forward, and we want all of you to be part of that. But there are a few things that we know we need to have strategies for, so I wanted to talk about those a little bit. The first one is fundraising. So as I said, we've raised about $200,000 so far, and most of that is in grants from some small pharmaceutical companies, biotechs, who are interested in this area, which is exciting, and from other kind of small family foundations and individual donors. We raised some money through GoFundMe, which I think I've told a lot of you about, so that's something we can talk about in the future for trying to raise more money. We brought in about over $12,000 that way. And there's another cool thing that we just learned about. So Rita Rickert, are you here? She's back there. Her company had a program where you can apply for grants for different things. And she applied for a grant and got a $5,000 grant for us. So that was really exciting. So that's another thing that we'll be looking into, is sort of matching grants from companies. So fundraising will continue to be a big deal going forward. We have spent a lot of that money already on this conference and on bringing people here from all over the world. But now we need to go forward and raise a lot more money, because what we want to do is actually be supporting research. We want to be directly supporting researchers doing work on this disease. So that's the biggest next step. We also want to be raising awareness. So that's a place where I will be asking for a lot of help from all of you. So we are working on a media strategy. We have a PR consultant who's been doing some pro bono work for us, and we're trying to figure out how to prioritize what things to get the most attention. And we'll be really focusing on that right after the conference, because this is going to be a great story. We have a New York Times correspondent who's on the White House beat right now, which means he's been extremely busy, but he's returning to the healthcare beat in the new year and has already said that he may be interested in writing a story. He thinks that.
What is his name?
His name is Gardner Harris.
Gardner Harris?
Yep.
Thank you.
So we'll keep working on finding other news outlets and also television, and we will, as soon as we figure out sort of exactly what we'll be doing, we'll be letting all of you know and letting you know how you can help. We're also, as you know, doing video in this conference. So Mary Mackley, who's an independent video producer, is going to be is filming a lot of what's happening today. And some of you and a few of the doctors will be interviewed as well, and you know who you are already. And so we'll be gathering all of that footage and figuring out what to do with that too. It's going to be a great opportunity. The next thing is social media, which a lot of you are using already, and a few of you have been using already to raise awareness and to raise funds as well. And that's something that we'll be hearing from a couple of parents who've been doing that later in the day. So we have a Facebook page, which has almost nothing on it yet, but will. We have a Twitter account, Data2 Foundation, so please follow us in both places. And a lot of you, I think, are already in this, but we also have a Facebook group, and it's a private group where nobody outside who hasn't asked for permission to be in it can see what we're writing in there. So that's a place where we can really, that's less about raising awareness and more about us being able to talk to each other and give each other support and share information. So we'll be building up all of those things and trying to find a large audience for what we're doing. We're also already making connections with other foundations, and we'll be raising awareness that way as well.
Katherine,
Yeah.
there's one other way. Hi, I'm Heather Pearson, Treasurer of the Foundation. Chip was also, through his connections with Senator Frist, spent Wednesday on Capitol Hill lobbying the staff of Senator Alexander and two others whose names I have completely forgotten now that all of these lovely people are staring at me. So from an awareness perspective, Chip he said he was a little unusual. He wasn't asking for anything from these staff members. He was just forming the connections for when we do need something for them.
Right.
So we're actually also lobbying Congress.
So, which is a good transition into the next theme, which is advocacy. So we do want to be part of the larger conversation on rare diseases and on getting the legislation passed that we need in order to be able to extend. There are a couple of laws that we're hoping to get through Congress at the moment in this country, but we'll also be making connections with international organizations, but looking for ways to really help open the doors for more innovation, faster innovation, and working with the drug companies to do what we need to do for ourselves and for our kids. So that's a really important piece. And hi. So there is one last thing, which I think you mostly know about, and that's our patient registry. And that's really, really important that we collect information about all of us. And it's pretty simple right now. It's a spreadsheet, but there's a way that on the website you can find it and you can put in your information if you haven't already. This is really, really valuable for us. It's part of how we will be able to work with drug companies and be able to get the support we need. And so if you haven't signed up for that yet, please do. And we may also, as we kind of learn what needs to be in there, we may end up coming back to you and asking for more information. And it's entirely possible that at some point we might even be asking for blood from some of you so that we can have a bank of all of our genetic information. So, but we're not there yet, but that's definitely in the future. So does anyone have any questions about all of this? We will be doing lots of communication about our ideas. going forward, and asking for a lot of help from all of you. Thanks so much.